Well, hello there. My name is Brian DiNapoli. I'm host of this podcast called NIL Insight, where current and former athletes share tools and resources to help student athletes succeed on and off the field. And I'm very excited. I'm a passionate Bulldog, probably one of the biggest dog fans practically since birth. I graduated from there. My older brother went there. My godkids, my nieces followed suit. And I still remember in seventh grade, I was just mentioning to our guest today. Watching one of my heroes, Amp Arnold. He hauled in the only catch in the 1981 Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame, where we won the national championship 17 to 10. I have a picture of me jumping up. It feels like yesterday. So here we go. This is such a pleasure. Amp Arnold's our guest today. So, hey, Amp, how are you?
I'm doing good, Brian. Glad you
Yes.
called me in.
Yeah, man. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. So, why don't you tell the audience where you're from and what brought you to UGA?
I'm originally from Athens, born and raised. Went to high school here locally, and chose Georgia was several options. You hear athletes now talk about they rounding it down to 5 to 10 schools and da 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 da. Well, since I grew up in Athens, I was very familiar with the surroundings there. I used to work out with some of the players back in the day. So I compared everything to Georgia. If I went to school A, I come home and I evaluate school A against Georgia. If I say Georgia, Georgia. I go to school B, I come back, I say school B versus Georgia. It's Georgia. So in the end, it was Georgia.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I'm glad you became a Bulldog, being from your hometown. I also remember reading somewhere where you were a really good basketball player. You averaged about 20 points a game. So, were any schools looking at you in basketball?
Yes, I had an option at that time again. I came out of school, all state, all star, and all that in basketball as well. Several schools wanted me to play both. I thought maybe I'll do the same at Georgia, but that wasn't what Coach Dooley had in mind.
No, no, that's right. Wow. And I'm going to ask you about that. So, what was it like playing for a legendary coach like Vince Dooley? What was the recruiting process like? That kind of thing.
Well, I was being recruited by Art Russell, which was our defensive coordinator back then. Uh, Working on the bench was kind of different. He's not a hands-on to player, but he ran a strict organization, very disciplinary. Couldn't argue with it because of his success. 25 years of it.
No, that's incredible. And Irk is one of my favorite coaches of all time. He was such an incredible motivator.
Oh,
I
yes.
know he would butt heads, with the ball head, blood would be coming down. He was just an old school coach. So really, so that I had read that he was such a great recruiter. What made him a great recruiter?
Well, he was so personable. Uh, it didn't always reflect to the game itself. He made you think that you were always good enough. And one of his coaching techniques, which I thought was awesome, he never attacked the player. He always attacked the situation. So he never belittled you. And I think that was the biggest motivating tool he had when he's coaching.
Well, I love that. And I'm a community football coach, and I've sort of seen both sides. I coach kicking, but I've seen those that scream and yell, and these coaches, some of them think they're on hard knocks. And some of these
Right.
kids, don't have a lot, and so you're going to scare them off. So, yeah, I'd always heard that about him, just an incredible motivator. And then I was hoping he would get the job after Vince retired, but something happened, he didn't. But man, what the incredible job he did at Georgia Southern, just put them on the maps. They were brand new, and he won national championships with them at the lower level.
Oh yeah, his coaching technique, he couldn't fail. He was good. I was wishing he had gotten the job at Georgia as well, but I think at that time they were looking at long term. They only felt like he only had a few years left.
No, but he went on to coach several more years after that.
Yeah.
That's what was incredible. So, I talked about that 1981 Sugar Bowl and that dream season. What was it like playing in that game in New Orleans against Notre Dame, at night? I mean, must have just been incredible.
It was that whole season was incredible. That was just kind of the cream on the top of everything. Being in New Orleans, playing a historically named school in Notre Dame. Again, they were probably the biggest team we had faced the whole year. Yeah, and to be able to be fortunate enough to win that one was awesome.
It really was. And I remember there was a fumble that happened that the Notre Dame guy lost the ball in the lights kind of thing. And that was kind of felt like a turning point.
Yeah, it was again. We got a couple of breaks early on and got the lead. So at that point, it was not lose the game, as Coach Dooley would say.
No, that's right, Amp. No, definitely. And it's funny, they had the replay on, and I watched it about a year ago. And man, it was incredible, with now how much they throw the ball. But you caught that one pass during that game, which is really goes down the history books.
Wow, talking about a trivia question. How did whoever won a championship with only completing one pass?
Well, that's right. I want to say Buck was 1 for 7 that game, and you hauled in that one catch. So that goes
Yeah.
down. I vividly remember Amp listening to the radio with my dad and Larry, talking about you and Lindsay, and it gives me goosebumps now. Switching gears, your counterpart, the other wideout, Lindsay Scott, who I met his brother a few years ago. I work in drug and alcohol
Okay.
prevention, and Lindsay's brother does too. So I hit it off immediately with him. And what was it like, during that game against Florida with that incredible comeback with that ball that went to Lindsey Scott? What was that game like?
Well, that was always a fun game. So you just expected the unexpected. And I don't know why during that time it was always very close games. And a play here and there always made the difference. And again, we were lucky enough to be able to make a play at that time to win that game.
Yeah, it was incredible. And boy, that call that Larry Munson made after that play is legendary. That he broke his chair, a metal steel chair with about a 5-inch cushion. The booth fell apart. All that was just unreal. Again, I sent it to all my friends and my brother he was at that game. Actually, he left early, but every time before Georgia Florida week, we amp up and still play that video, which is incredible. Now, do you ever get back to any games?
Yes, I'm usually in all home games. Still go to several away games. Just came back from Florida a couple weeks ago. Always a
Oh,
fun time to
awesome.
go. Yeah.
Wow. Now, how was Kirby? Would you say he would be more like Irk?
Not so much Irk.
Yeah, yeah. He's that discipline too.
Yes, and yeah, he attacks people character, but he does have a loving way of doing it. So it ain't all kick, kick, kick. He does pat you on the back from time to time to encourage
No.
you. Yeah.
Well, he comes from that Saban coaching tree, of course. It's strict discipline, but the players just love him. I mean, his pregame speeches are really second to none.
Oh yeah. He's down to earth when it comes to that. He ain't trying to be politically correct, if I can say that.
Yeah, I got you. No, I've heard some of the recordings, and man, it'll make what do they say, make a sailor blush. But
You should
speaking
be
of
at
that,
practice.
oh yeah, hands down, Amp. But probably my favorite all-time UGA coach would be Mark Richt. I just think he was such a character guy on and off the field. What were your dealings with someone like a Mark Richt? And it's sad now that he has Parkinson's, but I think he's doing okay. I think I recently read he had surgery.
Yeah, he's doing good. Awesome guy. Probably one of the most humbling people you want to meet. Again, if you didn't know he was the head coach of the University of Georgia, you wouldn't know him. He was like your buddy, your friend, your pal. He was that kind of person. Well grounded. His principle was always in the right place.
No, I agree. I heard him speak a couple years ago, and just the humility, everything about him was just great. And I self-published a book on overcoming bullying and alcohol abuse, and he reached back out to me, and I thought that was really, I still have it today. I framed it, so I'll never forget that. But yeah, just such a stand-up guy, and I'm thinking of other more current players that sort of were like a Mark Rick, like someone like Nick Chubb. Did you ever Do you know Nick, or did you ever have dealings with him? He just seems like such a humble guy.
Yeah, as great as he was just humbling. Again, once again, you wouldn't know he was as successful as he was. Uh,
No, that's right. No, of course. But you're like that too, Amp. I mean, you've got that servant's heart and that humility about you. I can just tell just in speaking with you, you're exactly like that.
well, I tried to keep the main thing. The main thing. I hadn't done anything. Only been blessed with God's grace.
Yes, sir. Well, no, absolutely. And what was it like playing with legends like, yourself, of course, and but like Buck Bellew and of course Herschel. One of my favorite all-time players was Terry Hoag, that they called him back then a rover. Scott Warner. Then I'm thinking of like Eddie Meek, Cleaver Weaver. What was it like playing with those guys?
Oh, that was my brother. We all just had different mothers. Back in the day, we all lived in the same dormitory, so we slept together, we ate together, we was always together. We just one big family, and we was just all brothers. Good
Yeah,
relationship.
definitely. Now, what can you tell me about Terry Hoag? Wasn't he a walk-on? He was sort of like a no-name guy, but man, he had a knack for the ball. He could intercept. He just had so many incredible interceptions.
Yeah, Terry was one of those guys that never made mental mistakes. He was always in the right place, the right time. Wasn't the fastest guy, wasn't the biggest guy, but you couldn't beat him competing. I was Terry Holt.
No, that's right. And he had a really good career. Played with the Arizona Cardinals, I want to say. He had a good career with them, but yeah, incredible. I'm thinking back at that brotherhood. I remember reading a story about something about the team stole a pig from I don't know, from like the Science Center or something like that. Can you talk about that at all?
No, I won't mess with that one.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. I understand. Yeah. No, yeah, the great Jeff Dantzler talks about that. Do you know Jeff?
I do know Jeff. Yes.
Yeah, I just love his passion and the Bulldog Brunch. And as a kicking coach too, I really like Kevin Butler, but I know he came just right after you too. Now Rex Robinson was y'all's kicker.
Right.
That's,
Rex without kicker, which was just about as good. We
oh,
just didn't get the
definitely,
same.
Georgia.
Yeah. Didn't
We're
have the
lucky to
same
have.
notoriety as Kevin.
No, we're lucky to have some great kickers, and right now we've got an excellent kicker too. I mean, I like what Cam Newton once said, you're only as good as your kicker. So, that's such a critical part of the game, especially now with these guys crushing the ball 60 plus yards, really.
Wow.
Wow, what about the toughest team and the toughest player you faced?
Wow. We played a lot of tough teams back in the day, players as well. Probably one that sticks out the most is the 1977 Kentucky team, which beat us 33 to nothing. So we didn't win that
Wow, yeah, that's a
one.
you wouldn't
But
think Kentucky.
exactly. But that team went on, won the part of the SEC title that year. They went 10-1. That was a very, very tough team. We didn't do very well with them.
Wow. And my arch rival Amp is Georgia Tech, and I know we had that legendary comeback, and you were the hero. You caught that winning ball in 1978. What was the score? I think we won 29-28.
27, 28.
27
28,
28.
27, yeah,
Okay. I
27,
remember it
28.
was really close. What was that game like? And did you all feel sort of that hatred towards Tech, like good old-fashioned hate, or would you say it was more toward Florida back then?
Probably more against Tech during that time. Uh, that particular game, it started out, we was getting killed. We wasn't doing anything right. And it just seemed unreal because that wasn't our character that year. And luckily, their running back, I hate to say that, but luckily their running back got hurt at halftime. He had almost 200 yards at the half, and gave us an opportunity. We got a break here and there, and finally had a play there trying to make win it toward the end. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I want to thank you personally. That's Knott's is another win for us. And I'm a little worried about him this year. I mean, who would have thought Tech would be a top 10 or 15 team? I mean, they have a explosive offense. I'll give him that. So Kirby's going to have us ready, but I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah, they've shown a lot of toughness this year. It's not a complicated offense. They just
No,
line up and they come right at you. So
no,
you know
they
what
do.
to
But
beat
I know
them.
we're going to be ready because we're in the top 10. hopefully we can hopefully get the SEC championship game, but if not, we can host that playoff game. That would be incredible.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
What about the toughest player you ever faced?
Oh, one jumps out the most is probably Mike Singletary. I don't know if you remember Singletary from way back when.
Yeah, he played for the Bears. Great, excellent
Yeah,
player.
Bears and eventually became a coach. Yeah, he played for the Baylor Bears back in the day. He probably had 30 tackles in one game. In a game we were fortunate to win.
It's funny you say that we would go to one game a year, and I believe I went to that game because I remember it was Baylor. They had the green helm, the green uniform.
Yep.
So that's taken me back in that game. Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, but again, a great person. He's a great person off the field. I follow him and his coaching career and yeah, what a great guy. That's amazing. Now, what are your thoughts on players getting paid today with name, image, and likeness, and now with revenue sharing, where the universities are paying the players directly?
I like the idea that players are getting paid something, and some stipend should have been good. But I think the NIL been taken out of contents now, where it's to the point where they're actually paying players to play. That part I don't like. Again, that's just me. Don't make it right or wrong. It's just me. I think the sharing would be better for all team members if they all got the same thing.
No, I hear you. Thanks for your honesty there. I heard Saban say on game day, I think it was earlier this year or last year, it's sort of like transactional versus transformational. Do you want to be transactional, just paying these guys, or do you want to be a transformational leader, molding young men like you talked about Irk and that kind of thing? So you see that happening. It seems like Kirby can do a little bit of both. Most of our guys stay. You don't see a lot of guys transferring. He's still going the old school way of recruiting. I mean, I love Dion. I think he's a great guy, but you can't have an entire team really of transfer portal people. Texas Tech maybe getting away with it a little bit, but for the most part, I think we're doing it the right way, this current team.
Yeah, hard to build a team when you're adding more than half your team every year. It's hard to build that camaraderie that you need to be a very good team. You may have some success, but I don't think it's going to be sustainable.
No, I hear you. And I think Texas Tech, I could see them bouncing out early in the playoff just because of that. Then it doesn't feel like that team first. Like we have it at Georgia for sure. And you look at someone like Carson Beck going off to Miami. Rumors is it was 3 or 4 million a year that they paid him. But our quarterback Gunner, he doesn't appear to be motivated by that. He's a Georgia guy, from Tiger, Georgia. They said he's got Tiger blood. So I just really love the way he plays, and you could just see the team play immediately when he went in the SEC championship. The chemistry just changed with him in there.
Yeah, I haven't personally met Gunner, but everything I've heard about him is all positive. Again, he doesn't get tied up in the hoopla or being the quarterback of the University of Georgia, any of that stuff. He's just a winner. And
He is, yes. No doubt, Amp. He's such a great winner. And, switching back to NIL, if it existed in 1980, how do you think it would have affected the team? I mean, of course,
I'd
someone
be
like Herschel, and they're going to get the big money in Baloo. I mean, you would have been part of it, Lindsay.
that'd be hard to answer. Mm, I don't know if it'd be much different than it is today.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because I mean, someone was saying, "Oh, it's ruining the game and everything." I said, "But it seems to be chaos off the field, but on the field, the product has never been better." I mean,
Right.
these games are so close. Look in the SEC, anybody can win. I mean, even Kentucky. Look at Vanderbilt with their quarterback, and they could be a playoff team. Who would have thought that with Vandy?
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the relaxation of the transfer rule.
I hear you. I think that's
Those not
probably
playing right
more of
away.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that transfer portal it feels like it's leveled the playing field. I think there probably needs to be some sort of guardrails. It seems like someone like Coach Dooley would not have liked that, and he wouldn't have liked NIL. No, I can sense that, Kirby, he embraces it, but him being that old school, he'd probably not 100% crazy about it, but I mean, for what the players do and everything, I really feel like they should be paid. It's just probably gotten a little out of whack with as much money as, get throwing around and all of that and trying to poach players and things. But, I'm all for the players first. I mean, they're risking their lives, really. I mean, football is such a violent game. Did you ever suffer any really serious injuries?
My senior year, I messed up my knee, which kind of slowed my career down after that. Um, had several surgeries, 2 in 1 month. Once I got in the NFL, so that was made that a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. Can you talk about that? You're trying out in the NFL.
Well, as I mentioned, I got hurt late in the year. It's against Florida, actually, the year that we actually had the miracle play. I got hurt in that game in the second quarter, so it was a struggle to get back healthy before the draft. Uh, the mental part of that was I was expected to be a high draft pick, and just seeing my stock go down because I wasn't healthy enough to perform. And I eventually went into the NFL as a free agent with the Denver Broncos. Really good situation at that time. And of course, things was going well. Got to the week, the final cut, and I got hurt again. So I went from being in to being out on injured reserve for a couple of years. Just never recovered physically.
Yeah, I seem to remember that because I followed you guys so closely. Back then, this, of course, before internet. And it seemed like Denver really liked the Georgia guys. Didn't they get our tight end, Clarence K? He played there for a few years.
Yeah, they had several Georgia players over the years that done well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then more recently, like a No Sean Marino, but they were known, of course, now, and I'm not a big Eagles fan, but kind of a little bit because of all of our dogs, but they've turned their entire defense is our guys. It feels like.
If you remember that defense Georgia had back there, it wasn't a bad defense to have in the NFL.
No, no, that's right. But it kind of reminded me of those early 80s, those junkyard dogs because of Irk. I mean, would you say a lot of that was because of Irk that he just took, good or great players and made them
I,
superstars?
I would put it that way. Irk probably performed better with less talent than they are doing today now with more talent. He's been able to succeed. Let me say he was a motivator. He made people believe they were better than they actually thought they were. Now the that team that the Philadelphia have, those are super talented individuals. I can't say we had that many players on our defense during that time, but we performed just as well.
Yeah, that's right. Do you ever mentor or talk to any of the current players today, especially like the wide receivers? I'm thinking of our star this year, Zachariah Branch, that has really taken us to the next level.
No, I haven't. I've spoken to Branch. I went to practice a couple times, and I've spoken to him. He was smaller than I thought he were, but super talented guy, super talented game
Yeah.
breaker.
He really is. I mean, he's been instrumental in a lot of these games. I mean, he's just so quick. You're right. He doesn't look like that big. He looks more like a slot receiver. He could be in the NFL, but he does have that get up and go and that home run speed. He is so good. Seems like a pretty cool guy, off the field. I mean, I'll say that about our guys that, they all seem pretty humble, which I really like.
Yep, I like that as well. Again, that they are buying into the team concept, that brotherly love.
No, that's right. And Georgia, we're not that really flashy. They're like a Miami or Oregon. It just feels, we don't wear the flashy uniforms. I just like just the old school, red and black, the silver breeches, with the G, and that's enough. And I know you've had a good career. You've had a sales career. You've traveled around the world. So what should players do to prepare for life after sports? I mean, it's got to be so hard with hundreds of thousands of fans screaming like you're at a Neyland Stadium or Sanford Stadium packed out. I think when you played there, it was a little over 80,000, but it's got to be hard to turn that off when you're 22, 23 years old and less than 5% of these guys play at the next level.
That's right, and that end come a lot quicker than you think. if I had to give a couple of advice, one would be learn as much about financial literacy as you can. Prepare for that day when you can't. And secondly, find that thing that you think you like or want to pursue and educate yourself as much as you can because that may hopefully one day be your job.
No, that's great advice. It really is. And now there's a lot of talk about mental health, but back in the day, you know, no one talked about mental health. They're like, you're good, just brush it off, go ahead. No one talked about it. So I think there's more talk on that. There's more resources for athletes, but at the same time, you feel like there's so much pressure on them with social media if they make a bad play, and you're just reading these stories. And then the whole gambling thing's coming in where it's become mainstream. It's just got to be really hard for today's player to navigate all this.
Yeah, a lot more influences now. You're correct. A lot more things to get into, a lot more financials to be able to get into things. So, yeah, it's a lot challenging than it was in our days. Like
No,
when
there
we
really
didn't have a
is.
car, we had to find a way to get around, walk, run, whatever.
No, that's right. Yeah, it was a little different back then. My brother, we were talking about that when we went off to UGA. They're like, here, kid, here's the key, figure it out. Now it's just different. They've got, people to help you, counselors and things, which is good. It is just quite a bit different
Yep.
than I remember, going to school there for sure. And I'm glad social media wasn't around back then. I think it's yeah, just made a lot of it just made us worse as a society overall. It really has. That whole, comparison as a thief of joy, I think is, especially for young girls, I think it's really detrimental for them, social media.
Mhm. Yeah.
So any other advice before we sign off, Amp?
No, not really. Again, life is short. Enjoy what you can. Enjoy
Yes,
what
sir.
you
Yes, sir.
can.
Can you talk about some of your experiences? I read somewhere, I remember you, it sounded like you traveled around the world in a sales position you have and with a company in Athens. Could you touch on that briefly?
Yeah, football. I came back and it was a startup, Japanese company startup here in Athens, in our Winterville area, which is a suburb of Athens, and got employed there as a sales manager and production manager, and kind of traveled the world selling bearing retainers, which is not the ball bearing itself, but the cases that hold everything together. And we were selling that to the automotive market, you know, and the industrial market, John Deere's, the Caterpillars, the Big Four and autos. So it was an up and down market, but enjoyed it. Traveling around the country, getting to see people, meeting people, different cultures. I enjoyed it for 35 years.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I read somewhere that you collected some kind of like Japanese artifacts. I want to say fans or something that I read somewhere that you collected some like Japanese artifact type thing.
Yeah, I traveled again. Our headquarters was in Osaka, Japan. So anytime I went to Japan, someone would always give me something and of a fan or I can't think of it. The robe they wear, the hats with meant good luck or whatever. Yeah, I used to collect those type things.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, Amp, this has been fantastic. And really, I'm kind of pinching myself. I get to talk to one of the, my heroes growing up has been really excellent. You're just a super humble guy. Appreciate all of your insight and all that you do for University of Georgia, the team, and all that you do for the Athens community. I know you give back a lot. And just that's just incredible that you stayed in Athens. You're from there, went to school there, and you're staying there now, which is so great. So glad to have you as part of Bulldog Nation. And yeah, thank you again, Amp. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can always email me at Brian 3008 at iCloud.com. I also have a website for student athletes and parents providing resources. It's a passion project called NILinsight.com. So please check us out there. And the YouTube channel is NIL Insight, and this will be on YouTube. So thanks again, Amp, and looking forward to getting back to the national championship and go dogs. Thanks again.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you.